Hi, everybody. It is September 27th, 2024. Yesterday was the OTA. So many changes, and yet such little change, I feel, happened. I posted this picture. I changed the date to September 26th patch notes on Reddit in the Marvel Snap group. Got a lot of traction for a while before the mods deleted my post saying that it was either trolling or low effort, vague, didn't add anything to the conversation. It got like, I don't know, it wasn't up for too long, maybe like almost 12 hours, and I think maybe like 500 upvotes, which isn't a lot, I don't think, in the world of Reddit. Definitely was a lot for me, for anything doing. But this kind of is just like what I feel happened today. Now, I know that OTAs originally were just numbers, and they've figured out a technology where they can do more than just a number update on Thursdays. That being said, it's important to know that a while ago, and this is when Mobius was drastically changed to an on reveal for some stupid reason, that the patches that have a lot of ability changes, those have to be finalized still a couple weeks in advance. So if second dinner, there's a problem with an ability or anything that's happening with a card right now, or with the change to like War Machine, they can't just change the way that the ability works that fast unless it's like some drastic game-breaking emergency. So it's really just numbers for now. They can't react too much to some toxicity in the meta that a lot of people saying is happening. So today was just, or yesterday, was just a bunch of number changes where we're going to go through some of them. A lot of them are just like whatever. Not a lot of them. Some of them are whatever. Some of them I think are great. But it just doesn't make sense for some of it. And of course, the first one is going to be Hela. Now, Hela went from a 6/6 to a 6/7, and all of the cards that she resurrects, instead of -2 power, are now -3 power. And that actually isn't that bad. She still is pretty powerful. And I don't think she was like a major problem. She's always been a very, like, if you do it right, like a low-end lucky winning deck. Especially more so when there are cards that now, instead of random discarding, they're specific targeted discarding. Blade is one of the absolute best changes I've ever seen in this game, where he discards the rightmost card in your hand. So the card you pretty much just drew or just added to your hand when he's played. I think he's absolutely fantastic. Lady Sif has always been like that, where it's the highest card. Colleen Wing has always been the lowest card. They just added Swordmaster, which is discard an odd costed card in your hand, and Moon Knight was recently changed to an even cost card in your hand. So there's a lot of really nice targeted discarding abilities. Hellcow and Corvus Glaive were both, or are still both, random cards, but Hellcow now is activate. And that's the problem. So let's go and talk about what Second Dinner has said about the reasoning of their change to Hela. Hela has seen a resurgence in popularity with Hellcow's change to activate and Black Cat's buff to 10 power. I remember Black Cat, I think, used to be just like 7 power. It's crazy. While her win and cube rates haven't been out of line, this change has strengthened the deck by making it easier to resurrect more power with less risk than before, which can feel frustratingly difficult to contest for many decks, which is true. We're taking some additional power away from resurrected cards as a bit of compensation for this added strength, but balancing in a touch of more power for Hela. So let's just say that you discard quite a bit of cards, and that 4 of these resurrected cards go on one location. That location essentially is going to have like -12 power from their maximum power, which is quite a lot when you think about it. But a lot of these cards are going to be like, Gigantos, who's going to be He's going to be 11 power. Maybe Magneto. Magneto's going to be now 9 power. But just like the problem with Arishem was the second dinner is going around and changing all the cards that are becoming a little bit too crazy when Arishem came out. They did a big nerf to Loki. They nerfed Blob twice. They nerfed Dr. Octopus, which was never a problem before, but it only suddenly became a problem because of Arishem. But they didn't solve the problem, or they didn't change Arishem himself. So this one, the problem they're saying is, Black Cat and Hell Cow, where Black Cat I don't think is that big of a problem. She's a 410, where the whole 410 stat line is that there's always a real catch to playing a 410. With Black Cat, unless you actually have her on turn 4 to play, she's going to get discarded. Now, of course, you're going to be playing her when you have Ghost Rider or Hela in your hand. I think Ghost Rider's much better for that. But it's still... it's still a big risk. I get it. But the bad thing is Hell Cow, because you can play Hell Cow on 4, and then wait till turn 6, activate, discard 2 cards, random from your hand, and play Hela after that, all in one turn, so you have 0 risk of actually discarding Hela. And they made him a 4/6. But like Hell Cow's the problem. I don't think Black Cat is a problem at all when it comes to this. Like, even when you don't have Hell Cow, let's just say Hela still had no negative repercussions when playing her, so like no -2, no -3 power, she would still be a 6/16 with just Black Cat's buff. We're now a 6/17, so it's a lot. Not only that, but everybody has Luke Cage, and I've seen a lot of Luke Cage going around to help stop this buff, because in this type of deck, you might not have a lot of things to do on turn 3. Like, maybe there's Sif, but at the same time, why Luke Cage in a Hela deck, to me, is more beneficial than playing Hela on turn 3. So let's just say your turn 3, it's on curve, you have a choice between Lady Sif and a choice between playing Luke Cage. And you have death in your hand, so you have no chance of actually discarding Hela. I would still play Luke Cage, I think, over Lady Sif, because even though you can get rid of that, you can get rid of that death now and add it to you later. The problem is just the problem is still Hell Cow, and Luke Cage will help take care of all that negative feedback or negative draw to Hela. So again, big problem is Hell Cow, problem is Activate. So what is there to do about that? Again, Second Dinner isn't addressing that problem. They're addressing a different problem. Problem isn't Hela, problem is Hell Cow. So what if Hell Cow changed? What if Hell Cow changed to a 3/5 and discard 1 card for an Activate? I think this would actually be a fantastic change for Hell Cow. Definitely go try it out. You'd be able to play him on 3 and then activate him on 4 after you play before you play Ghost Rider. And there you go. I think that's fantastic. And the 3/5 is in line with Lady Sif, right? So I think that's fantastic. Also, if you went and you activated him on turn 6, then the difference between discarding 1 card and 2 cards on turn 6 when you're still able to play Hela is absolutely massive. So reducing him down to a 3/5, discard 1 card, activate, I think that's great. I had the idea at first of like, what if it was a 4/6, activate, discard the left and rightmost card in your hand? But the more I think about it, the more I'm just like, I don't know about that. I mean, you'll get rid of a pig if the other person spider hams, but I don't know. I really like the 3/5 activate, discard 1 card. I think that would be a huge. It would nerf him. It would bring him back into a really good power line, though, where you don't have to change Hela, because right now you're just discarding 1 card. That's it. I think it's fantastic. But then again, I came up with the idea, so of course I'm going to think it's fantastic. But how do you counter Hela right now? Leech is absolutely fantastic. I put Leech in my deck. I do not like Leech at all. Just constantly the way he is. I always thought he was a real pain in the ass. But now with Hela really running so prevalent and being able to play him on turn 4 or turn 5, getting rid of Hela, you're also running the risk of hitting up their Infinite, hitting up their Giganto, a couple of things. Even Magneto, if moving 3 and 4 cost cards for your opponent would be not that beneficial. But it's still, I think he's a great card right now for this specific meta. I definitely think he's number 1. Cosmo, you would think, is actually fantastic, but you really have to snipe with Cosmo, where you can't play Cosmo first. You can't play him on really turn 3. You have to play him, you have to like have priority, play him on turn 6 or something, because throwing him down, it's just going to limit where they play Hela. There's still 2 other locations. Now, if one of them was like Sanctum Sanctorum or anything that limits Hela being played somewhere else, yeah, that would be fine. You could definitely pair him up with Goose. So Goose in one lane, Cosmo in the other lane, and then that way Hela is only going to be focused on one specific lane. What you're going to do after that, I don't know. But that's one way you can narrow down where Hela is going to be. Maybe Storm there. That's actually might not be a bad idea. All right. You have Debris, Green Goblin, and White Widow. That's going to be just like a junk deck, right? I'm not saying use these specific cards. These are just examples. Because the more you fill up their locations, the less of that's going to be less cards that Hela's going to be able to resurrect to these locations that are filled with junk. So not like a super direct counter. You still need to do a lot of work, but junk is another way you can kind of adjust for Hela. Professor Xavier, you can move into his location, but you can't play into his location, and Hela can't resurrect any cards into his location. So Professor X, another viable option. Leech is still number 1. I think this might be like number 2. Cosmo, Professor X. But hey, if you can put Leech in your deck right now, you can afford to do it with all this Hela, do it. I think it's a good idea. Next, War Machine. War Machine is so much more annoying than Hela to me. Now, the only reason why I haven't come across a lot of War Machines in my thought process is War Machine was not that good when he came out. He was kind of really overhyped. People didn't buy him at first. And then once he got this ongoing, that's when things got absolutely crazy. They mean Second Dinner, came up with their thought process saying originally when they made him ongoing that they tried to make him activate because that was a huge suggestion from a lot of the community, but they didn't feel like he was really there for activate. That ongoing was just the better choice to do it. So first, let's read what they have to say. With the recent change from an on-reveal ability to an ongoing one, War Machine has really taken off. We're excited to see the decks with Ebony Maw and Infinite that players have been perfecting for a long time finally get their day in the sun. However, War Machine's win rate has been amongst the highest in the game, and a lot of... am I old for saying duh? Ooh, and a lot of that has been in decks focusing using Storm and Legion to deny the opponent any turn 6 plays. Yes. Those decks have a place because they can be frustrating to play against repeatedly. We don't want them headlining the metagame. Hold on, those decks have a place, but because they can be frustrating to play against repeatedly, we don't want them headlining the metagame. Yeah, okay, right? They're annoying to go against all the time. We don't want them headlining things, so what are we going to do about that? We're going to take War Machine down a peg by removing power, since that recent buff turned out a bit stronger than expected. It's not his power that's the problem, it's his ability that's the problem. They're completely missing the point with this. Having him go from a 4-7 to a 4-6 means absolutely nothing. Even if you made him a 4-4, that means absolutely nothing, because you could still Storm and then do War Machine, Legion on 5, and that still gives you the ability to play all these cards on 6 while your opponent can't do anything. It doesn't help. it doesn't help the problem. Now, in a previous video, I called Wrong Machine because I am convinced that this is, from the way that the text is saying, it doesn't make any sense to me. The ongoing nothing can stop you from playing cards anywhere. This term, anywhere, suggests it ignores locations and not play requirements. So War Machine, to me, should be changed where his ability will allow you to play any card anywhere like Jeff. It doesn't matter if there's Professor X there. It doesn't matter if it's Sanctum Sanctorum, Crimson, whatever, or the location that says you can't play 4, 5, 6 cost cards. Any type of restriction that a location has on it to prevent you from playing cards to that location, that's the only thing War Machine should be able to do. He shouldn't be taking away the play requirements. Like a 620 power card is absolutely insane. And you play him on 4. Even when he was on reveal, you played him on 5, and then you could just play Infinite, right? What if when you played like Magic, then on like turn 7, you could do Infinite and Ebony Maw. Not to mention you're going to be able to play cards like Cull Obsidian, Crossbones, all these 4/10 cards that have these restrictions. He just allows you to play them. And that's stupid. That's absolutely stupid. It's dumb. It should just be preventing you from playing at locations. His ability needs to change to properly reflect what his text is saying. That is the absolute biggest problem with War Machine. Now, I didn't do any counters for War Machine because it's so dumb that I think the last time I played it, the best thing you could do, to me, if you're seeing yourself going against that combo, is you could play Cosmo on the flooded location, or on turn 5, when you know they're going to be playing Legion, you Rogue on the War Machine location. You take the ongoing ability. This way you're going to be able to play everything, and they're not. Rogue is also a fantastic card just to have. So counter for him. I did make a slide. Sorry about that. To me, best counter is going to be Rogue for that. You also don't need to be able to snipe where War Machine is unless they're planning on playing War Machine on the location that has Storm, right? That's it. Symbiote Spider-Man. These deck changes are a little weird to me. The whole 4/6 to 4/7, maybe they're trying to give him more power so that more people will buy the season pass at the end of the season. Maybe trying to squeeze out a little extra money because 4/6 wasn't that great. So you've all found a ton of awesome things to do with Symbiote Spider-Man, from retriggering Doctor Doom to safeguarding the power of the Human Torch. But a lot of those strategies have been a bit inconsistent, and when they don't pan out, Symbiote Spider-Man has been under-delivering onboard presence. To ensure those cool things are less risky, we want to raise the floor so that Symbiote Spider-Man contributes a meaningful amount of power the rest of the time. Okay, like if he's a 4/7, so what they're saying is, let's just say you get him, you play him, and it doesn't pan out, at least you're going to have a 7 power on there, right? I don't think I think 4/6 is just fine for him. Like 4/7, sure, like they're not bad, but like what he does, he's not like that big of a risky of a card. He's still just going to be like at least 6 power on there, and the upside to him, retriggering Galactus, retriggering Negasonic, which they mentioned in the Negasonic thing, notes, retriggering Doom, they're all just ridiculous and fantastic ideas. Now, when it comes to retriggering on reveal abilities, planning around with Grandmaster might be a little bit easier, but Grandmaster is a 2 cost that it's such a pain in the butt card to play. It moves a card to the middle location, so it can't be at the middle, so you have to target an on-reveal card at the left or rightmost location. Then it has to be able to move to the middle, and then it retriggers its ability. So, and there's no targeting to it. So how come Grandmaster doesn't have a buff? Why isn't he like a 2/3 or something for that, right? Also, regarding the power of Human Torch, with move being so absolutely nuts, I don't need Symbiote Spider-Man. to get Human Torch to like a 70 power. And I think what they're saying from safeguarding the power of Human Torch is if you merge Symbiote Spider-Man with Human Torch, Symbiote Spider-Man now has the Human Torch ability, so he can't be killmongered. If he gets hit with Shadow King, he's going to be reduced down to a 7 power instead of a 2 power card. So there are definitely a lot of really nice things you can do with Symbiote Spider-Man. I don't think they needed to make this change. I don't think it's bad. I don't think it hurts the whole meta of the game, but it kind of seemed unnecessary. Now, the two cards, this was the crazy part. Galactus and Black Panther both had buffs done to them, where these two decks, they haven't been like a huge problem. They're kind of like fun decks, but they can be really powerful, especially when paired up with Symbiote Spider-Man. You play Symbiote Spider-Man onto a location, and then you play Galactus, and you activate Symbiote Spider-Man to re-trigger Galactus's ability. And what was he before? 6? So he was a 6'11 Galactus. Now it's going to be a 6'13 Galactus, and that extra 2 power is definitely going to be harder to beat than the 11 power. Okay. So Galactus' stats have been lagging as we've added more 3/5s to the game, and we've been looking at buffing him for a while. I agree. One reason we waited was that we were so wary of his interaction with Symbiote Spider-Man. Our internal testing didn't reveal this to be problematic, but we can't ever know we've solved a deck for sure. Now that we've seen the potential to create higher powered Galactus hasn't proven too frequent and frustrating in the real world, we're comfortable boosting Galactus up as we'd hoped to. I thought with all the more 3/5 cards that are happening, Galactus deserved just like a little bit of power. Now, Galactus used to be absolutely insane, where I think originally he was like a 6'7", and he just had to be your only card there. You didn't have to be winning, you could be losing, and you would just go off and trigger. Now, the reason why that was such a problem is you would be able to play cards like Nimrod and Wolverine in the center location, and then once you play Galactus on the left location, on the leftmost location, the center location would get destroyed. Then Nimrod would go, Wolverine would go, and then hopefully Wolverine would get put to the right location, destroyed a second time, and then brought back to your location. And then another Nimrod would go there. So you would get this giant boost of power, and there's nothing your opponent could really do for it unless they did something like, unless there was a card on your side of the location to prevent Galactus from actually triggering. So I agree that he definitely needed to have this 6/6, this like little power buff. I mean, I would even go almost to like a 6/7, but then again, I love Galactus. But I think that's good. Now, Black Panther, this is like a buff and a nerf at the same time, where it's been a long time. Black Panther has long been one of the most exciting combo cards in Marvel Snap. Originally, like, you can tell from how the Wakanda cards came out that it was like you play a Koye hoping you have Black Panther in your deck, and then he'll become like a 5/5. And then you play Nakia, and Nakia I think was like +2, like your to 3 leftmost cards, and he was going to be like a 5/7, and then you play him. So you have a power buff on 2, power buff on 3, and then you have him on 5. Oh, no, sorry. Then you have Shuri on 4, and then Black Panther on 5. So it was a great power combo that you were able to get done. 2 cost, 3 cost, 4 cost, 5 cost. Wonderful on-curve buff to Black Panther. And that's just like, well, what do you do with him then? But let's keep going. The combo is awesome and has the potential to take over games with the likes of Wong and Arnim Zola. We think that's a cool deck as long as there's enough counterplay to it, so buffing Black Panther should help the deck compete when it doesn't draw enough of the full combo, albeit making the combo easier to stop preemptively with Shang-Chi. That's good on the off chance that this buff makes such a deck too prevalent. That's why it's like a buff and a nerf, because now I can just Shang-Chi him from the get-go if I have priority. And then their Arnim Zola won't be able to do anything. So the 5/4 definitely hurt. It's a hard balance to do. So the craziest thing to me is they buffed these two cards that got a lot more popular, and it's becoming a lot more problematic because of Symbiote Spider-Man. But they gave Symbiote Spider-Man, Black Panther, and Galactus all a power buff. So what exactly going on with that? So how do you counter these things? Green Goblin is by far, to me, always has been the best counter to Galactus. It's always been the best counter to Black Panther. More so now that you have Symbiote Spider-Man on. This just makes Green Goblin an absolute true king in this. Debris, wonderful queen, but she's going to be honoring that silver medal. Here's the reason why. It's very easy to figure out where they're going to be playing Galactus, where they're going to be playing Black Panther. They're going to be putting Wong down or something, or for Symbiote Spider-Man, they're going to have to put Symbiote Spider-Man down first. Now, let's just go and say that they're getting the location all ready to play Galactus. They have some negative cards on yours, like maybe a Green Goblin for you. And it's going to be hard to beat that. And Symbiote Spider-Man is over there. You throw a Green Goblin on there, then not only will they not be able to Galactus at all because there's going to be another card there, but if they activate Symbiote Spider-Man, Green Goblin, it's going to merge with Green Goblin because Symbiote Spider-Man targets the lowest power card, lowest cost card you have. It will merge with Green Goblin, get its text. So now with the buff, it'll be a 3/4, and it'll get sent back over to your side. And that Galactus won't be able to do anything because it already used its on-reveal ability. The reason why it's great with Black Panther is, let's just say it does, if they do Zola with Symbiote, then they're going to send the Symbiote over instead, and it'll help prevent Black Panther from getting buffed like that. So, fantastic. The downside of doing Green Goblin with or against a Zola play where it's really just Black Panther and Zola is there's a chance that the 50-50 hits Green Goblin instead and gets sent back over to you, where if it's a rock, the rock would be better with debris. But still, clogging up their lane over there definitely helps. So when it comes to Symbiote Spider-Man, Green Goblin is one of the best counters against Symbiote Spider-Man that I think you could possibly get. I don't know if I have any other slides. I think that was it. Oh, yeah, Hercules, Kraven, Negasonic, and Marvel Boy. All these are fantastic changes. Hercules, when a card goes into his lane and he knocks it away, that's less power for you most likely because you're going to be playing a move deck with Hercules. So having the one extra power, I think is fantastic. Kraven definitely sometimes was lacking a little bit more. I don't think they needed to buff him to a 2/3, but I appreciate it. Negasonic, they also didn't need to buff it, but that whole 3/2 stat line just made it seem like it wasn't that good. So having her be a 3/3, I think is so much better. Marvel Boy, 3/1. Now he's affected by Ravonna, but if you go and you play him on 3 and you have just like Squirrel Girl out before that, and so he's adding 3 power each turn, so he goes from a 3/1 essentially to a 3/4 for 3 on turn 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 7, 3, 10, 3, 13. Yeah. Makes it very strong. So taking that 1 power off of him, I think that's helpful. It doesn't really... actually, it might almost be better because you could play like a 1-cost card on 1, Ravonna on 2, and then you can play another 1-cost card and then Marvel Boy on 3. So help maybe get a little more cards out. Anyway, I think that's still good. Now that's all the slides I have. Guys, this has been a crazy long video. I hope you guys really enjoy it. Like, subscribe. If you can, comment. This was really just a big, confusing OTA where they said they wanted to shake up the meta, and I don't think their goal is going to be achieved the way that they want it to be. All right, guys. Have a great weekend. Stay safe. See you next time.